This road from Aberdare to Neath is a constant uproar of traffic. And I guarantee that 99 out of 100 people who come down here in cars and lorries do not realize that they are passing, ignoring the key to one of the most silent, fascinating areas of the United Kingdom. And the key is here, at the end of Neath, this tiny turning so easy to miss and ignore that leads us to Neath Vaughan.
Within seconds of leaving the main road, a change has declared itself in the landscape. The hills are softer, the trees more feathery. One has the feeling that comes to one on coming to a place where something fantastic has happened, something for which instinct rather than memory is the surest guide. The village of Neath Vaughan, the village of the bridge over the little river Neath, a perfect place for children. Hills all around, a bridge in the middle of the village to serve as a focus for social affairs, and a stream so clear it has no secrets. This is the last pub before that leftward road swings you up onto the magnificent moorland that leads to Sennybridge and Brecon. But we stay here, right on the valley bed. Look at the name of this pub, the Dinas Arms. It is a word that crops up in 1,000 Welsh place names and fills the mind with ghosts. It means city or fortress. The odds are that there never was a city here. But fortress, yes. Up this lane, past this house that strikes a lovely note of strangeness and withdrawal, and we come to Neath Vaughan's second bridge. And the fortress, Craig y Dinas, the fortress rock of King Arthur. It is a huge blue stone shaped like a shield. Sheep are normally to be found sheltering warily at its feet. Sheep and legends. The legend of the great Arthur, the king who led his people in their last desperate battles against the Roman and the Dane 1,300 years ago. The man who established an ideal of courage, dignity, wisdom, and kindliness that has remained alive to this day. Where he was laid after his death, no one surely knows. But countless harassed generations have awaited his return, and he has waited for his people to come with their banners of love and grief to bring him back to renew the dreams of freedom. From a military point of view, a man could have held this place against the devil. The rock stands at the entrance to a long and tricky valley, intermittently brilliant with waterfalls, and flanked by profound caves and holes that have claimed a steady ration of potholers and other amateurs of darkness. The stream is called the Merthyr, and is none the less cold for that. It has pools that are still icy and lay claim to being bottomless. I do not know what the Welsh have against pools with bottoms, but they have a mania for attributing endless depth to water. I suppose that a small and often troubled nation is bound to long for at least one direction in which it isn't going to be flagged to a halt. But walk down the valley a few miles and we leave legend behind. We walk into the commerce of the world. Like Cardigan and dozens of other Welsh seaside towns, Neath was once a port of some renown. Romans, Normans, Vikings, and bulging coasters sailed up this river on assorted errands of violence and trade. Neath is still a rich and booming town, but wealth has ebbed away from its river. The gulls find fewer craft to beg from, and the mud edges back into its old kingdom. Neath has a magnificent framework of hills. They are poised like lions, their sides sculpted by the glaciers that shuddered south, took one look at the rates and taxes situation, and shuddered their way north again. This is a genuine staging post on the road west. From here, the buses roll up the hills through Brincoch, over the ridge to Pontardawe, and on to Gwaun Caergirwan, Ammanford, Cardigan, or up the Cymla, and on to that exquisite spread of multicolored fields between Neath and Blaengwynfi. The town has one of the few authentic squares of the region. I recall exactly what I felt when I came into Neath from the Rhondda for the first time. One sensed the dignity of an older tradition than we had in the mining valleys. When I first wandered here, some of the buildings struck me as having the grace of Athens. On what things does the life of Neath depend? In the hills to the north are the collieries that stand on the fringe of the anthracite field. This strip of the coast gave the world millions of tons of metal. And one film actor, Ray Milland, a distinguished citizen of Hollywood, which is about as far a cry from this section of Glamorgan as you were ever likely to get. But we too have our hints of glamour. This is a faggot coming to birth in Neath's fascinating market. Neath is a town that serves an area. Like Pontypridd, that's a pocket for the questing, spending fingers of the surrounding valleys, the market has a most gracious shape. It hums with life and is in every detail as wholesome as a Welsh cake. Here, the faggot, that most delightful tidbit, the sturdy Welsh ancestor of the American hamburger, is made in full view of the public. And within earshot of the bubbling fat are the tables and benches on which these hot and flavoursome little items can be put away with or without peas. All things to feast the heart and ease the mortal frame are here. Books, the world's garrulous conscience. Books new and lurid, meant to catch the eye and whip up the senses. And the books of yesterday, the little graveyards of what past generations thought worthy of expression. These are the books to draw the man who has no wish to be excited, only the wish to give the world a rather sad and meditative stare. Sermons of beloved pastors put between covers by their loving flocks, self-forgiving memoirs by wily politicians, and bright novels by authors who never dreamed that their brightness would ever slip into rust and oblivion. The patterns of life in Neath are indelibly Welsh. In places like the Britain Ferry Institute and the Gwyn Hall, some of the brightest minds and sharpest tongues of our land played around the immemorial problems of human destiny. These and the chapels, the great powerhouses of eloquence and pity. And rugby too. Neath has always been one of the groups of masterly clubs. They play with the speed and ferocity of leopards. They say that the game of rugby originated with a crew of angry Welsh peasants who amused themselves one afternoon handling and kicking the head of an objectionable Norman bailiff. Watching a team like Neath responding to attack from a team like Cardiff on the Arms Park, on their own ground in Knoll Park, one can believe that. The Welsh like their religion and politics hot. The same goes for their games. We couldn't settle for any national sport that didn't involve the use of the whole body. If you have a voice, use it. If you have arms, use them. And any limbs missing will be handed back after the match. Saturday night in the rugby club at Neath, the games of the last 50 years will be discussed and joyously misreported. The game that Wales won against the All Blacks in 1905 will be analysed as passionately as the game that was played this afternoon. If you happen not to have been born in 1905, that makes no difference at all. A knowledge of that historic game has become a part of the Welsh weather. Players whose faces you can see pictured on the walls of Rhys Stevens' restaurant will be remembered and offered a loving toast. The triumphs and absurdities of the past week will be put on parade and into perspective. And do not think that such clubs as these begin and end with rugby. They add up to one of the most powerful units in our social life. Rugby men and women tend to be concerned with the whole community they live in. Many of your future politicians and headmasters will be found stirring in such a club as this. In the memories and talk of such people as these lies the best of Wales. Now down at the Jersey Marine, open to the world by the new road that has been flung around Neath, is the oil refinery of Llandarcy, Target of the first bombing raid on Glamorgan in the last war, and one of the most significant coils in the whole vast complex of pipes that makes up the world of petroleum. It is a huge undertaking. After sunset, it rides the night like a mighty liner. Bathing in the sea off this spot, you can take in enough petrol to be driven back home. A stream of Neath lads has gone out to places like Abadan on the Persian Gulf, where wages are high and temperatures even higher. They help to bring back the little ocean of crude oil that is purified here. And as they stew in those arid places, I think I know the things they dream of most. Either a pint of cold ale among the roaring laughter of the Neath Rugby Club, or the cool moonlight that rests upon the promontory of the Drummer Mountain as it rises from Neath down to the sea.